Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark, the Mad Movie Mark movie review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 2021 Romanian drama Miracle. Miracle has a 100% fresh rating from the critics and Rotten Tomatoes and a no rating from the audience. I am reviewing every movie that has a 100% fresh rating from the critics in chronological order, and once I've reviewed them all, I will rank them from worst to best. Now, I must admit, with this movie, I was a bit confused, and the confusion was pretty much all at the end of the movie, where you think you know what's happening and you're horrified by what's happening, but then they throw you a curveball and what you saw, I think, was not actually what happened. Or the miracle at the end of the movie is that what you saw did happen, but then it reversed itself, which is very, very weird. I think that's what was going on, but if you've seen the movie, please let me know if that's correct or not, because I was left very confused. But I really enjoyed the first half of this movie. It's just the second half that kind of falls off for me, and quite a bit. So this movie revolves around a girl named Cristina, who in the beginning of the movie we're led to believe she is a nun, but we later find out that she is not a nun. She is something called a novice who joined the convent 2 months prior, and I guess you have to be with the convent for years before you're able to be considered an official nun. So she is leaving the convent, which she's not supposed to do, and she's doing so in a cab. And while she's riding in the cab, she's going to the hospital because she says she suffers from really bad headaches. While she's riding in the cab, she's dressed in her nun outfit, and she asks if the driver can pull over so she can change out of her attire. So he does. She changes out of it. She gets back in. He picks up someone else. This other guy's a doctor, and he says, well, I work at the hospital, so I'll get you in touch with someone who is really good with things in the brain. Now, she doesn't go to this appointment that he sets her up with. She goes to the birthing area of the hospital. Now, I was led to believe, I just thought that this was just because she was testing to see if she was pregnant, which she ends up being pregnant in this movie. But apparently it was also, she was trying to get an abortion at this place, but she decided not to do it. I think that's supposed to be a big plot twist in the middle of the movie. But honestly, I didn't put two and two together. I didn't even know she was going for an abortion. So it didn't really strike me as all that shocking when the detective who is investigating, we'll get into this later, but he's investigating and he asks if she kept it. And the person at the hospital says she was going to get an abortion, but she decided not to. So on her way home from the hospital, she was supposed to meet the original cabbie that she went with before, but she decides to get into someone else's cab. She wants to dress back into her nun outfit, so she asks this other cab driver, who's very sociable. He does seem a little bit shady while she's talking to him, and she's sitting in the front of the cab, which maybe that's just a Romanian thing, but is that what people do? Whenever I take a lift or something, I always sit in the back. But anyway, she needs to dress back into her nun outfit, so she asks if this guy can pull off to the side, somewhere, so that she can get dressed. Now he decides to pull off under a bridge, which immediately she thinks is quite shady, and immediately thinks that this is something that should not be going on. But she doesn't really have a choice, so she does it anyway. And he brutally attacks her, rapes her, beats her, leaves her for dead. I thought that she died because the beating, the screaming that was going on while it was happening was just gut-wrenching. It was really hard to watch. I think I've said this in some movies before, Slalom was one, but that had to do with statutory rape. But I wish that they would just they would show. So my wish is that you know what's going on without needing to hear the screaming, without needing to hear the cries for help and the slowly dying. And I wish that they could just pan away and not show all of this and not make you hear all of this, because it really turns me off from the movie. I really can't stand these type of scenes. I know what's happening. I know what's going on. There's no reason to show this woman in pain. It's not going to make me think, oh wow, rape is really bad, because look how look how much she's screaming, or wow, like beating her to death is terrible. I didn't know that until I saw the torture that she's going through. Like, we understand this. There's no reason to show any of this. And it really, the movie took a turn here, and I really like started to not be so involved in what I was watching. But after this happens, I guess it's supposed to be split into two parts. The second half of the movie begins where there's this detective who is sort of doing his detective work to try to solve this case. And I don't know, to be honest, I mean, he retraces her steps and he somehow figures out who the suspect is. I don't know if they did any like DNA evidence or if they like exactly what they did. They found like a part of a taillight from a taxi cab and somehow linked it to his somehow. They don't really go into a lot of like the detective work here or the process of catching this guy. They just kind of say, we found a taillight and here's the guy. And it ends up being the right guy. Like, they found the guy who did it, but there's no like procedural things going on here. I wish they could have gone into more detail into exactly like what they were investigating and how they were doing it. But they just found the guy, and we realized that that Cristina is in a hospital. She's like brutally beat up, but she's still alive. And the guy who's investigating, he's like grilling her with pictures, trying to find out if this is the guy who did it. And he's like, I know this is the guy, you just have to give me a nod. And she's not doing it, and she seems like pretty lifeless. And I'm like, is she like even coherent or anything? He says, I'm going to tell everyone that you gave me a slight nod even though you didn't, so that we can arrest this guy, because he's so sure that this happened. And is this even like legal? If she does eventually recover from this and we realize that she actually did not do this and this is not the guy and he's like convicted anyway, like what's the ramifications here? But anyway, comes this weird point where he says like, okay, I'm just going to tell them that you nodded at me. And then she grabs his arm and she like whispers something in his ear, and then they have like this romantic kiss together, which I'm not really sure what that is about or why that happened. Even watching the movie all the way through at the end, I still don't know what that was about. So like, if anyone has seen this movie and knows what happened here, let me know, because it was really out of left field, and they never, as far as I could tell, they never explained why they would have this passionate kiss with each other. But okay. So as they end up catching the guy, and the detective says, we're going to drive him to the scene of the crime. And while they're driving him to the scene of the crime, it's so ridiculous because like all four detectives and him are in the same small car, like this together. Like, why don't you just drive separate cars? But anyway, there's 5 people in this little car, and he's telling the guy like, I know you did it. It's like, here's the reason why. And if you don't confess, like, we're going to get you to jail anyway. And the guy's like, well, I have a lawyer coming down, so I don't really want to talk without the lawyer. And then the cop's all like, well, yeah, he'll be there soon, but we're going to talk anyway. So apparently they don't have the same laws in the US to where if you request a lawyer, the interrogation has to stop. I guess that's just a US thing. I don't know the laws in other countries, but I guess that only exists here. So he's still grilling him, and he's still like trying to get information from him, which the cab driver is not releasing. He's not telling him. So they finally get him to the scene of the crime, and this is where things kind of go weird for me. kind of cuckoo bizarre here. So what happens is he gets the guy out of the car, and there's a couple other officers near him, and he's kind of like every now and then punching the guy, trying to get information out of him. And the other cops are like, whoa, buddy, let's stop punching him. Let's get him. Let's do what we came here for. So the cop asks his partners to leave. He gets the cabbie alone by himself, and he like puts him in a headlock and starts beating the crap out of him. And he's like, tell me why you did it. Tell me what happened. And the cab driver eventually starts blowing his guts as to why he did it, or not why he did it, because he doesn't really know why he did it, but exactly what happened and the events that unfolded. And the cop says, okay, like, where did it happen at? And this is going to be spoiler. Obviously there's already been spoilers, but this is going to be a spoiler at the end of the movie here. But the cab driver points to the area in the woods where like the rape and attempted murder happened. First of all, sorry, I forgot to mention too, the cop devised this plan that he's going to tell the cab driver that, that he's going to, one of his partners is going to call and he's going to pretend like the woman died in the hospital. That way it'll make him like maybe feel a little worse and maybe confess, which didn't happen. But the cab driver points to like where the incident happened, and then the cop takes out his gun and shoots him in the head and shoots him in the back a couple times and kills him. And then his partners all rush to the scene and like, oh my God, like drop the gun. What happened? We have to call headquarters and all this stuff. And then the cop goes to this river and he sees like it looks like an image of Cristina in the river while he's like smoking a cigarette. And then his phone rings and he says, when did this happen? I'm assuming he got a call saying that Cristina actually did die, but that would be weird because, I mean, the miracle wouldn't seem like so much of a miracle at the end of the movie if that's the case. So he gets a call and he's told that, I'm assuming he's told that Cristina dies. He gets his gun out of his pocket, which is the gun that the other people took away. So apparently he has his gun back. And when he turns around, the cab driver is alive again. And it's like none of those events happened. It's like they just arrived at this place. And like the interrogation didn't happen. The cop didn't shoot the guy in the head. And it's like, we're starting over from scratch here. And then they just put the cab driver in the police car and they drive away. Now, I thought in the middle of the movie that the miracle was that the girl survived. I wasn't sure if the kid survived. I don't know if that was ever like really, if they ever really said that the kid survived this or not. But I thought the miracle was that she survived. But then at the end of the movie, when he gets the phone call that she actually did not survive, and the events kind of like rewind and he actually didn't kill the guy, is the miracle that the cop gets a second chance and actually didn't kill the killer. Which is weird because I would rather the miracle be that the woman lived, or is the phone call that he got saying that she was dead not actually happen and she is alive. I'm completely confused. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I'm not, if you've watched some of my reviews before, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm confused or wrong. And I'm probably both here. I'm not really sure what happened, but it's a weird ending to the movie. I love the beginning of the movie where we learn about this girl's life and who she is and the fact that she's in the nunnery and that she's having a kid. And I mean, obviously the father's not in the picture, but I thought like, I go into these movies not knowing what they're going to be about, and I was really hoping that this would be like something about her life and moving forward. But then the whole like rape and almost murder scene was really tragic because like I really liked her character and I was really into her character. And when she was alive, I was like stunned, but also very happy to see that because, like I said, like I wanted her to survive this. I didn't want her to just like die for no reason. And I thought that was great. And then the part where the cop comes in is just completely stupid to me, the whole part of the movie. Like, I don't know how he came up with what he came up with. There was no real detective work shown. It's kind of like a lot of other movies where there's this cop who's like dead set on figuring out this case, but it's just not done as well, in my opinion. The whole scene where they're kissing in the middle was just weird to me. And then the ending was just, I mean, it left up to interpretation. But if your movie is called Miracle and there's a miracle that has to happen somewhere, that miracle probably shouldn't be left up to interpretation. I think it should be pretty clear what the miracle is. And for me, it just wasn't there. It wasn't clear at all. That being said, Cristina, I thought she did the person who played Cristina, very well acting job. She did really well here. Cinematography was beautiful. The scenery, the forest area that they used was beautiful. It's just not my kind of movie. I didn't. The whole scene where she's attacked was completely, I thought, tasteless, and it turned me off. and from after that, the movie would just kind of went downhill, and I wasn't as invested in it. I mean, that being said, like I've said with other movies, it is better than some of the other movies that I've reviewed for this list. It's going to be I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think that's as good as I can get. I hope you join me next time when I review a movie called Wildhood. Thank you. Have a great day.